Welcome to lesson number 5, and the focus is the false prophet, and that is from Revelation 13 from verses 11 to 18. And as you know that we use the GPS method, we live in the 21st century and we read Revelation 13, and those people lived many years ago. And between us and the people of the Bible, there are many differences, and the GPS method helps us to overcome these differences. So we use three major steps. The first one is understanding, the second one is application, and then our third step is communication. So let's start with understanding. In this process, as you know, we use the acronym of START to take us through this very important step of understanding. This step takes us to the message, to the original receiver. How did the people in those days, how did they understand that message? So the S is situation, so let us start with the S. As we saw in a previous reading, the dragon could not prevent the birth and ministry of the child. So then he focuses his attack on the woman. According to Revelation, the dragon uses his ground staff, the Antichrist and the false prophet, to execute this onslaught. In the previous lesson, we saw how the beast out of the sea, the Antichrist, is used against the church. In this section in Revelation, we see how the next animal, the beast out of the earth, is used against the church. And now the type of literature, we see that Revelation is written in apocalyptic literature, which is very symbolic. And it's also in the middle block of Revelation, because Revelation can be divided in 7 major blocks, and the block number D is the kind of a hinge in this book, and this is where Revelation 13 fits in. Now we analyze the passage, that is the A of START. We look out for symbolism and contrast, we mark the main themes, and then we conclude this and summarize the message to the original receiver. So this is where we spend most of our time. Just to show you the picture of the evil trio, the first one is Satan from Revelation 12. The second one is from Revelation 13 verses 1 to 10. This is the Antichrist, and this is the false prophet, the beast out of the earth. This is our focus for today. Let us read from verse 11. Then I saw a second beast coming out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. It exercised all the authority of the first beast on its behalf, and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose fatal wound had been healed. And it performed great signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of the people. Because of the signs it was given power to perform on behalf of the first beast. It deceived the inhabitants of the earth. It ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast, who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. Verse 15. The second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast, so that the image could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. That number is 666. So we realize there's a lot of symbolism, so let us just go through this passage. Then I saw a second beast, and this beast, second beast, is the false prophet. It is the religious arm that propagates the political power of the Antichrist. I would just like to read to you Revelation 16 verse 13. Then I saw 3 impure spirits that looked like frogs. They came out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. That is the second beast. And then coming out of the earth, it may mean that it's anti-Christian wisdom, because people believe that that kind of wisdom comes out of the earth. And I just want to refer to 2 passages why people say that. Such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but is earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. James 3 verse 15. And then from Philippians 3:19, their destiny is destruction, their God is their stomach, and their glory is in their shame. Their mind is set on earthly things. Then we had two horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. It reveals its true character. On the surface, it looks gentle, but from the inside, it is actually evil. Just for interest's sake, we know that a lamb does not have in real life horns, but in this case, it is the symbol of power, because horns is the symbol of authority, of powers, like the other animal had 10 horns. So this one has less power than the previous beast. But it spoke like a dragon. From the inside, it is evil. And then the first beast whose fatal wound had been healed, we saw in the previous session that this first beast had a fatal wound. It is one of the Caesars who lost his power, but that wound had been healed. It means that another Caesar continued with the persecution. And then in verse 13, and it performed great signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of the people. While many scholars think it refers to 1 Kings 18 verse 38, it reminds us of the prophet Elijah, and it's the scene on Mount Carmel. And there on Mount Carmel there were more than 400 prophets of Baal, and there is Elijah, and he prayed to God, and God answered his prayer. Immediately the fire of God fell and burned up the offering, the wood, the stones, the dirt, and even the water in the trench. All the people, including the prophets of Baal, all the people saw it happen and fell on their faces in awed worship, exclaiming, God is the true God, God is the true God. And then you have an image. It ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. Most likely it's a reference to the statue of a Roman Caesar who had to be honored during John's time. And then verse 15, we see actually in verse 16 that the second beast forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads. Now this means that all people can therefore be identified. The servants of God are marked by a seal on their foreheads, and that you can read in Revelation chapter 7. And now in Revelation 13, those who follow the second beast or the Antichrist, those who need to worship him, also carry a mark. And that mark is on their right hand. It means their ability to work has been affected. On the foreheads, their ability to think has been affected. And then we have the number is 666. That is the number of the beast, and it calls for wisdom, who is 666. Unfortunately, throughout the ages, so much time and effort has been spent trying to establish who 666 is, that the essence of what he does has been overlooked. We do not know for sure who 666 is. Some people argue that is the number of a person, while others believe it to be the number of the evil tree. In addition, if 7 is the number of perfection and 777 is ultimate perfection, it would mean that 666 is symbolic of ultimate deficiency. In ancient times, numerical values were assigned to the letters of the alphabet. Someone's name could therefore be expressed in numerical form. It is interesting to note that the numerical value of Nero's name in Aramaic, John's mother tongue, was 666. The early Christians therefore associated Caesar Nero with 666 because he persecuted the church terribly. During the Second World War, people also associated 666 with Hitler. It is interesting to know that if you give the first letter of the alphabet a numerical value of 100 and add one number for each consecutive letter, the numerical value of Hitler would be 666. I just want to show you this, how people have abused this 666 in history. There is much to be speculated about. Whichever way we want to apply the number, it remains a symbol of the supposed supremacy of evil in the world that seeks to destroy Christ's work. The false prophet does this by means of its propaganda, which includes false ideologies and philosophies. if we consider the background of the Roman Empire during the time of John, we realize how false religions and anti-Christian governments worked together to persecute the Christians. Throughout history, governments have used religion and ideologies to promote their ideals. In the 20th century, communist countries were known for their propaganda that promoted the communist ideology. Today, governments continue to use religion and ideologies to promote their ideals. This can be very dangerous. The church should never be an instrument in the hands of the state. For this reason, many people feel that the church and the state should not be associated too closely. So we can see that 666 is symbolic of ultimate imperfection. I just want to show you in this slide how active this second beast is. It actually forced the inhabitants of the earth to worship this first beast. And this is the same role the Holy Spirit plays. The Holy Spirit helps Christians to focus on Christ, where this false prophet focuses on the people so that they can worship the first beast, which is the Antichrist. And then in verse 14, it's very deceiving, and also it ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast. It gave breath to the image. It forced people to receive a mark. And how will we conclude and summarize this message? Throughout history, governments have used religion and ideologies to promote their ideals. Today, governments continue to use religion and ideologies to promote their ideals. This can be very dangerous. The church should never be an instrument in the hands of the state. Now we need to relate the message to the broader biblical and theological framework. So if you read in 2 Corinthians 11, these people are false prophets. They are deceitful workers who disguise themselves as apostles of Christ. But I'm not surprised. Even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. And then Matthew chapter 5, Jesus said, "Watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves." So we see that it relates to the rest of the Bible's message. Then we test our findings by reading Bible commentaries or study Bibles, and I think we are on the right track. So our message remains: throughout history, governments have used religion and ideologies to promote their ideals. Now we need to ask ourselves, is this message applicable or not? We determine it by asking two questions. Is this an incidental, number one, or is this message an essential, number two? If it's an incidental, it needs to be cultural or ceremonial or civil, and we see there's nothing cultural, nothing ceremonial, and nothing civil in this message. Therefore we don't apply it, because anything that's cultural does not apply to us anymore. Ceremonial laws don't apply because it was fulfilled in Jesus Christ, and civil laws don't apply because our bylaws are different than their bylaws. Only the essential, the moral, is applicable. So we see that this message is an essential, it is universal, it is true in all times, and therefore we can communicate this in the 21st century. You can go into your small groups and you can discuss the following questions. You can just pause the video and discuss the following 4 questions.